All right, now for more on the big international stories of the week, I'm joined by Sky News foreign coordinator Brent O'Halloran for our weekly World Wrap. Now, Brent, Russia is accused of more meddling overseas.
Yeah, the big story out of the UK this week, the UK's Intelligence and Security Committee released a report it had been holding on to for over a year regarding the possible Russian interference in British politics. Security analysts have expressed concern Russian state actors were trying to influence the result of the Brexit and Scottish independence referenda. They claim Russia does this by promoting pro-Brexit stories on social media and on media outlets partially funded by the Kremlin. But the committee essentially found no proof of this, and crucially that the government and MI5 did not properly look for proof. Take a listen.
The committee found it astonishing that no one in government had sought beforehand to protect the referendum from such attempts or investigated afterwards what attempts to influence it there may have been.
Russia denies it meddles in UK political affairs, saying it's more anti-Russian hysteria. The debate in London now is turning towards censorship, with the opposition Labour Party calling for broadcasters it claims is spreading misinformation to be taken off air. Peter.
Now, Brent, there were a few curious twists in the race for the White House this week.
Yeah, it's almost time to start the countdown clock, Peter. We're around 100 days to go to the US presidential election. President Trump today announced the Republican Party's convention is cancelled. The convention is basically the lavish, spectacular coronation of the party's nominee, which of course is Donald Trump this time around. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they've had to scale things back. There will be a few virtual events instead. Trump also this week renewed his attacks on Joe Biden's cognitive abilities, as you earlier mentioned. He said he recently took a test of brain performance and performed very well, and says the 77-year-old Biden should do so too. Take a listen.
They give you 5 names and you have to repeat them, and that's okay. If you repeat them out of order, it's okay, but you know, it's not as good. But then when you go back about 20, 25 minutes later and they say, go back to that question, they don't tell you this. Go back to that question and repeat them. Can you do it? And you go, person, woman, man, camera, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there. Now, Joe should take that test because something's going on. And I say this with respect. I mean, going to probably happen to all of us, right? You know, it's going to happen.
Speaking of Biden, the presumptive Democratic Party presidential nominee received a bit of backing from former President Barack Obama, who appeared in a campaign video released this week. Obama's been getting far more involved in Biden's campaign lately, which may be one of the reasons Biden's leading in the polls in almost all the so-called swing states. And there are concerns, Peter, for Kanye West's well-being after the rapper and apparent presidential hopeful's bizarre first campaign event and subsequent Twitter tirade, Peter.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about Kanye, but I'm sure he'll poll a few votes. Now, to end on a happy note, you've got a couple of positive coronavirus stories, Brent.
Yeah, you and your viewers are probably a bit sick of me giving the bleak COVID international news each Friday, so here you go. Firstly, I've got the story of Larry Kelly, who this week was released from a New York hospital after spending 128 days being treated with complications from COVID-19. Let's have a listen to the man they're now calling Miracle Larry.
And they were strongly suggesting taking me off life support. And my daughter and my wife strongly opposed that and said he would want to live. From that point on, the doctors at Mount Sinai worked tirelessly to keep me alive. The last text message I sent to my wife, right before I was vented, I said, I promise I'll never stop fighting. And I kept that promise.
Beautiful story, that one. Then there's Maura Silva, a primary school teacher in Rio de Janeiro, who's been visiting her young students stuck at home, providing COVID-safe hug kits and giving them a squeeze. Then there's also Dr. Anthony Fauci, the man who's been the face of the US response to the pandemic. He threw out the first pitch in the first game of the Major League Baseball season, but it didn't go quite as planned. Take a look.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, you could say Dr. Fauci finally flattened the curve, Peter.
Outstanding stuff. That was the best footage I've seen all week. Brent O'Halloran, good to see you, mate. Well done.
Thanks, Peter.